to Scripts and Giggles with Shoshanna
and Marnie.
Before we started recording, Marnie said, "Oh, I know what we're going to talk about." So I'm letting her start.
I have been watching Dance 100.
Ooh, okay. Tell me your thoughts.
There are some hot boys on that show.
Ooh, okay.
I've decided maybe the love of my life is a dancer.
Is it Nick? Not Nick.
Who's Nick?
Yes.
Who's Nick, honey? Yeah, I watched all... Why is there only 6 episodes? Why did they boot? Because they were doing 2 at a time.
Yeah.
It was very silly because I would have watched 10 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
That being said, some people need to go.
Yeah, it had to be quite quick. Like...
Why?
I feel like it just helps with the pacing of the show.
I mean, they edited it so that all of the results were in the next ep anyway, which I thought was their trick of getting you to just watch it. So why did it have to be 6? Could have been 10. It was the same with Next in Fashion. I breezed through that.
But I don't think I need to watch 10 episodes of people dancing.
I did.
But I really enjoyed the music.
Because when they did the double up ones, I was like, nah, this is too much for my girls and my boys.
Oh my gosh.
Spoiler alert, Brandy did that.
She did.
She ate.
100%.
Every episode,
she
level of consistency unmatched.
All the way through. I loved
Max.
the that was.
I was really sad.
It wasn't Nick. It was Max. Yeah.
I was sad when Max went because I was like, I feel like Max has just got so much to give. Celine should have gone home ages ago.
Yeah.
And so should have Janik. Bye.
Yeah. Do you know who I did like?
Keenan.
I loved Keenan.
I liked Keenan. Those were my like from the first episode. I was like, these two have got something. And they made it to the finals. And yeah,
Keenan. Wasn't just a good dancer, but he had energy.
Yeah.
He gave so much like. He gave so much talent, but also not just for the dancers he was dancing with, but also for us, the viewers.
Do you know who I really liked? Who they weren't really feeling, but I actually really liked him.
Don't tell me the long-haired guy.
Yeah, I liked the choreo.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked his dances. I liked the energy of his, like what he was doing with his dances. I was like, this is very appealing to my eyes. I totally get where the dancers were coming from. It's like it wasn't a fun experience to dance with him, and that's important. But for me personally, I would have kept him.
I don't know. I wasn't really feeling his dancing. I felt like Max was incredibly talented. I loved
that poor girl who went out first week. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
It wasn't a great dance though.
It didn't give
the scarves.
What everybody else was doing, and do you know what it was? The story was too complicated.
Yeah, keep it simple because we are watching a dance.
Like, there's no words. There's no script. But that's with anything. If you have to, after something, explain what the story is...
A mess.
It was too much story. Yeah. Or it wasn't enough story.
That's one thing I learned at work, is like, when we're showing creative and like campaigns to people, sometimes we just want to show the work first and then go through like, this is a strategy and this is the idea and the concept afterwards, because we want people to have their initial feeling versus me going... Let me give you all this preamble about how amazing this is and the talent we use and the concept and the idea and the inspiration. No, let me just show you the work, because that's all people care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt really bad for her, but...
Sorry. It was annoying because she was plus size and I really would want to see her
I really could see
continue.
her being in it for longer.
Yeah.
And actually, she kind of reminded me of someone from Lizzo's...
Well, her show?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it.
It's brilliant.
When is it? Okay.
Really, really great show. Else has dancing in it. I really love dance, so you know, this show's really...
I'm surprised that you watched Dance 100, because I've watched it and I
well,
really enjoyed
it has a similar title to Physical 100, so I thought, ooh, this
just
has got to be good.
100.
Yeah, I was literally gonna ask you, have you noticed that there's a lot of 100 shows on Netflix? Is that like? Do you think that's a new thing that they're coming up with, like? Skydiving 100, reading so 100.
Funny. Oh my goodness, that'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. But that being said, I think the whole idea of 100 people, like it represents scale. People want to see multiple people doing things.
Yeah, but equally, I'm like, I don't know if this actually makes me think the dance is any like with Physical 100. The whole point is like it's getting smaller and smaller each time. With this, it was like it's getting bigger and bigger each time. And that final episode was good, but my eyes were like.
Yeah, it was all over the
dancing
place.
all over the place. I'm like, I don't know where to look. And that's why I feel like Brandy just sort of edged out for me, because hers felt a lot cleaner in terms of like what you're supposed to look at what time. Yeah. Whereas Keenan's was like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And I was like, okay, I don't know what is the centerpiece.
Yeah. I always think and go back to like Homecoming, and one of the reasons why it was an incredible show, and we're gonna be talking about Beyonce later.
Beyonce, right? I still feel like Homecoming. When did you go to Homecoming?
Yeah, no. Oh, in my head, I went to Homecoming, but when we watched the show, The reason why I loved that all the performances is because it showed the scale. Everyone doing the exact same thing at the exact same time across these different like levels, and it just looked incredible in one space. And that's what Brandy's did in her performance. Her Dance 100 performance was like, alright, it was really compact. Everyone was just doing the same dance move, and you're like, wow, I love the in syncness of it. Versus, you don't need to scatter 10 people on one side, 10 people on the other side. It just didn't work.
It's just a bit too much for your eyes to consume. And I also feel like Brandy did have sections, but it just came together a lot quicker than Keenan's did. It was like section for such a long time. Whereas it was like section. One big group now. Yeah. And I also feel like, the other thing I found really interesting is, I think the reason why I didn't really like Celine is she would center herself a lot in her dances, but she was often not in time with the other dancers. And I was like, now my eyes just drawn to the fact that you're
offbeat.
Yeah,
you can't be offbeat.
I found most of her performances, aside from that Decades one where she was like in the 2000s and one other one, I always just found her to be out of time with and I've always found that her dance is quite sloppy.
But some of them are amateurs and some of them are more professionals, or have like danced in like big dance troupes, or like chaired for big teams. I think Celine is like chaired for one of these big teams.
She's like one of the dancers for like the New York Knicks or something. But that's very different. Yeah. To having to choreograph every night different dance to a song that's not your. I thought that was really interesting as well. That like they never got to choose their songs. You would think for the finale
they'll have a choice. Pick your song. Like no, I'm sure maybe by the time you got to the finale, they knew the style or their particular type of style, but. No choice, I don't think.
Brandy was very lucky. She got a lot of very good songs. She did.
Also, there was one song that she didn't really like love, but she still made it work. I can't remember what song it was.
Yeah, I remember the thing that was so funny too is when Keenan was like, I've got a song this week and I absolutely hate it. The song is just too much and I don't like it. And it was Ghetto Music by Outkast. And I was like, this song is incredible.
Yeah, it's because it wasn't as fast as he would have liked.
It was fast. That's what he didn't like. It comes in, it's like, dinner. It's like, that from the beginning.
You know what I've confused it with? The song with that. I've confused it with the song.
The Dua Lipa one?
No, it was like, do, 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 do. Hey, dun, 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 dun. No, don't worry.
Okay, I don't know what that song is. Yeah, they did not that song. They did not dance to Races.
Yeah. Because in my head I was like, yeah, no wonder, because Roses are really slow.
Yes. It was really funny when Janique was like, oh, this Dua Lipa song is so slow. And I was like, this Dua Lipa song is fine.
It's fine.
Please.
I will say I love the music. Like, that was my favourite thing from the show. From when they started the show with Temperature from Sean Paul, I was like, this is a throwback.
They clearly had money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not the money that, Slow Sunset has, because Slow Sunset has that generic ass, like, we're women working and we're gonna sell some houses. That's all their music is.
Because they can't have the hills. Because in my head, they should really be like, the rest is still unwritten. I'm like, yeah.
Why don't they have real songs?
No.
Every single
library
break in that show. It's just songs that are just like, being a boss is everything that I want. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think the biggest selling point for a dance show is having good music.
Yeah, that's true. My one note for the show was, the choreographers weren't messy enough. Like the dancers, when they were giving critiques, would be like, "This was a flop, you flopped." Sometimes, not even the dancers giving the critiques. The dancers in their crew.
Oh
like,
yes.
What did you find experience? Jamal was like, "Yeah, no, I hated every minute of it."
Jamal was everything.
Jamal was not having
any of it,
and I wish the choreographers gave a little bit of that because they were always just like, "Thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you so much. We love the feedback." Shut up.
I think it's two things. They are dancing in front of a studio audience. If they start doing back and forth, which for us as a viewer we would love, but if you're in the audience, you'd be like, that would skew my perception of you, and I think it will prevent you going further.
But that's what I think was the only thing that didn't quite work for me. Was obviously they were doing that. Every time the dancers gave them feedback, they were like, "Thank you," because the dancers are the judges.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be like, "Fuck you."
That's the thing.
But at the same time, why am I smiling? You just told me that my work is garbage. No. I'm going to tell you, okay, why don't you apply for the show, since you got Big Mac, you got critiques, and why don't you choreograph, sis?
Oh my god.
Because from where I'm standing, I'm the one who's in line to win £100,000. You dance for me, bitch. Yeah.
I would love to
I
have
was
seen
just
it.
so desperate for one time I wanted to be like, I'm not being funny. I don't care what you think.
I think the problem is because you had the Dance 100 were also judging. It was a popularity contest.
Yes.
100%. If you treated your dancers well, you did a great choreography and treated them well, they're all going to vote for you.
Loyalty was loyalty.
Yeah. But if you did a mediocre dance, but you were, again, the best, loveliest choreographer ever, they're backing you. If you did a crap dance and you were mean, forget that guy that was like pushing them to the core, he was out.
Yeah, they said on multiple occasions, you're asking us to go full out every time, we can't, you're making us tired. He was like, cool, next week I'll be different. Next to the cameras, he was like, I'm still gonna make them go full out. No, and then you went home.
Exactly, because I'm so sorry. Like, even Beyonce doesn't go full out when she's doing her rehearsals. I mean, she has a few times. Sometimes she's just practicing the steps. Like when I do Zumba as a dancer.
Tell us about your experience as a dancer.
When I do Zumba on a weekly basis, sometimes I'm so offbeat. I'm like, and it's almost disgraceful because it's always with like Afro beats, and I'm like, I'm so offbeat.
That's really funny. I've never been offbeat in my life as a trained dancer, but I just wish, the source that you need from some of these shows sometimes is kind of missing because they are dealing directly with their judges. Like, take something like a format like Drag Race. It's like you can be sassy with your other queens, and then you go on stage and you're like, please, be nice to the judges. But they don't have that space because they're also being like, I love every choreographer. Yeah. Every other choreographer here is so talented, and I wish the best for them. I'm like, where is I'm sorry, if I was doing this for 6 weeks, I would be at boiling point. Yeah. One person coughs in that room, they're getting
done. I think it's also the case
when Keenan was like, when they were like 2 people going home today, and he was like, don't touch me, and he left the room. That was the closest to drama that we came. And I was so worried for him because I was like, oh.
He's gone on. Yeah.
People might read this and go, oh, he's a drama queen. He's a sore loser.
I mean, the thing is, you can't have a Dance 100 and then have another 100 people doing the votes. Because it's going to end up like Family Feud. Or you get the studio audience to vote.
I think that would have been interesting.
Like Wild Now.
Because I feel like what you as dancers are looking for, the audience is not looking for.
True. I just want to be entertained. And most of that was going to be through the music and through some really slick dancing and choreography. And sometimes the best views are like above. Yeah. Like when they do the drone shots and they're like really going out and you're like, this looks amazing. I'm sitting in the audience, I can't see nothing but just people looking a bit scattered.
I really want to commend the people who directed it because one thing for me about dance is sometimes people do that really static shot and you miss the like dynamicism.
Yeah. Like dynamicism. Such a weird word.
Dynamic. The movement.
By the way, I may just keep all that in.
Keep that in.
Because that was hilarious.
Keep that in. You missed that like dance is so much about how it moves and how it feels.
The dynamics,
So when I nothing irritates me more than someone just doing a static shot for dance. And what I loved is that we got those like aerial shots. We would like zoom in on each of those separate groups when they were doing something, and it made it like, oh, good. All of that work you're doing, getting the people right at the back to do different choreography to people at the front. We don't get to see that. What's the point? And so I really rate the directors for letting us see that stuff. And I started to fall in love with some of the dancers.
Oh, you had favourites?
I definitely have favourites.
I liked the British girl. She was like the main lead in Brandy's, I think, Dance 100.
When she did the circus.
Yeah, she was really good. Yeah. I mean, I didn't like the circus one was giving me demonic 100%. And I had to start fast forwarding it, but it was a great moment. But she was one of my favourites, and Jamal, because he was just cutting through, and then the other guy, I can't remember what his name was. Yes, the like taller one. The tall one with almost bald head but a bit slim, and he was he was giving all the chat.
Johnny.
I don't know. He was giving all the chat.
Yeah. Oh, there was a guy, curly hair, like he looks maybe Latino. He was quite tall.
I can't remember.
He was gorgeous. I said, this is the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my entire life. And his feedback was like, that was so good. I really liked it. I was like, yeah, I agree with whatever you said.
It was beautiful. It was a great show.
Oh, he was in Brandy's dance when he wore the heels, and then he got a bit emotional because he's like, we don't often get to showcase men wearing heels.
Yes,
I really appreciated that.
I remember him.
Gorge. I said, we don't get men like this here.
Also, like the host.
Don't get men like this here.
No.
Who was she?
Her name is Annie Love.
Yeah, but who was she?
She is a dancer as well, and she was like, she's famous on Peloton. Like, she does Peloton stuff.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think she's not the biggest well-known host in the world, but
I liked her. She had good energy. Yeah. I feel like certain points it was a bit awkward, but I feel like being a host in that sense is always a little bit awkward. Like, you're on the stage sometimes by yourself being like, wasn't that sickening? If I said that, you'd be like, shut up.
Who is writing this?
I'm feeling a little bit hot under the collar after that performance. Let's see what the next career... Like, it's just like, poor you. Of course it's hard. Sound a bit weird. It is hard.
I think being a host is hard. I mean, not everyone can be Maya Jama.
Yeah, I mean, even her. I'm friends with her sometimes. Yeah. But even moments where she was like, so how did you find that performance? It's like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Because sometimes choreographers weren't giving.
Oh, they can't be giving. They've just gone all out. They've just gone all out for 2 minutes with a dance. As soon as they come off the stage, mic in front of their face, how do you feel? They're still out of breath.
Get it together. We're on TV.
How dare you? I'm literally, I've just given my whole heart out.
Because some of those dancers, if you put the mic in front of them, they would have been like, well, as usual, I ate. Like, yeah, why are you not front and centre? Why are we going to these choreographers who just gonna be like, I just want to thank everyone, give him a great performance. I really enjoyed it.
That being said,
I want to hear the feedback.
The thing is, like,
that was Max's energy.
I know how I feel like sometimes when you're in the
when you're in Zumba.
Yeah, when I'm in Zumba. When
I've come out of Zumba, I don't want to camera my face.
You know, sometimes when you're just in the zone, like you're in the zone of doing a project, and then people want to have a chat, and you're like, I don't even feel articulate because I'm just in my zone of getting this particular thing achieved. They've just been trying to work hard to get this particular dance choreography achieved, so they don't have time to be like, give me the analysis. I feel for actors when they have to dissect their roles and who the character is. I'm like, where are you coming up with this nonsense?
I would love that.
I
love my work so much. I would love to talk about the process of making my work. So, like, me, if I was on Dance 100, which maybe I'll be on the next season.
I'm so funny. If I see you on Dance 100...
No, sorry. I snuck my way into Dance 100.
It's going to be amateur's version, Dance 500. 500 normal...
Dance 50.
Regular, degular people who wants to be on Dance 100.
Some of that choreo, I was like, I could pick this up.
For real?
Yeah. I couldn't do none of the tricks. Come on, that's advanced.
I think you could do
I could do
the 2-step.
Some of these dances I've done in the car, come on, I could do this.
I'm sorry.
I am genuinely blown away by being able to choreograph that many people. And like even sometimes when I was watching, I was like, did you tell each of these people what move to do? Because that's a lot of stuff in your head.
Yeah, because and also you have 1 week to create the choreography, teach everyone, rehearse to death, do costume, use all the props, because some of them have props like the whole little like ladder thing or chair or whips or whatever, and then find a way to integrate it. Learn the music, because you have to get yourself integrated into the music and the beats, and then you may not even like the song. No. And it's a hard job, and
props to Brandy. Can't wait to see. Well, I don't even know I don't know what your trajectory is as a choreographer who wins a show. I mean, do you become Paris Goebbels, for example?
Who's that?
She choreographs all of Rihanna's Fenty shows.
Did she do Super Bowl? I've seen some like a TikTok of it behind the scenes of more stuff.
She had a dance troupe school in New Zealand where she's from.
Oh, okay.
Called like the Royal Family. And I remember seeing clips of them before she started working with Rihanna. And to me, she's like she's a choreographer whose name I know. And her choreography to me is like now recognizable. Like I can see something that's given Paris, and then like I'll find out that it is
No shade, but does Rihanna do choreography?
The Fenty show does. Have you seen the Fenty shows?
The Fenty show, yes.
Have you heard of Fenty?
I've heard of Fenty. Don't do this. I've watched Volume 1.
You should watch all 3. They're all brilliant. I love the Fenty shows.
I'm not buying the outfits.
It's not about buying the outfits. It's about the dance. I'm not watching it to buy outfits.
I don't think Rihanna was... I think she was like, this is a fashion show. I want you to be buying
You don't do an elaborate dance. You don't do some of the choreo doing
that. Underwear.
For underwear. Come on.
When that underwear is looking sexy...
Do you think people are watching that going, if I buy this underwear, I could dance? Like, no. No. In fact, sometimes you watch a dance, you're like, this is making the underwear look ugly.
Yeah, true.
So let's get past that. We're here for the dancing, we're here for the music, we're here for the performances. Migos did Volume 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here to see who she's gonna get.
I mean, like with Rihanna.
Bearded Volume 2. Who was in Volume 3?
Lizzo?
Burna Boy.
Oh, was he?
Come on now.
I think that with what Rihanna has done with Fenty and Savage is just genius. It's absolute genius. I think if we're going back on our review of the Super Bowl, which please take a listen, you will see that it wasn't given, but I do understand the circumstances.
It gave for me.
But it gave the black up dancers were given. They gave what they gave what Rihanna couldn't. So
it gave. And if you watch the footage of Paris doing Rihanna's bits in the
it was supposed
rehearsal,
to,
it gives.
Yeah.
Paris gives. My dream.
Go on.
Is to make a show that is like a musical but for dance. So like a West Side Story but like a TV show version. So like what Mood did but without the singing.
Okay, so but just dance. I don't know if
with like songs like not musical songs, not songs made for the show, songs you recognise.
Oh, fab, yeah.
So it's like sort of like a jukebox musical, but without the people singing the songs that you know. It's just the songs. You
so it's just back to back music, a music video back to back.
Yup.
I love that.
I love that
because that
is honestly my dream. I'd love to make a show like that.
Because I like normally when I listen to something or music or a song, I'm thinking of the music video in my head, especially with
That's so weird because when I said that I had choreographed the entire album of Renaissance. You said, you laughed in my face.
I didn't laugh in your face. I said,
yeah, you called me a dumb bitch.
No,
yeah.
Please, listeners, lads, ladles, whatever.
Please say whatever.
Please,
call them by their proper names.
Lads and ladles, please listen to our reviews of Renaissance and other reviews. Please go back to the archive and listen, and you'll know that I praised you for it.
Go back and listen.
But I did say your Queen Bee has not released a single visual.
Go back and listen because my fantasy of what I have dreamed for the show, she was slept on.
I didn't sleep on it.
Shoshanna slept on it.
I just said, where is the Queen to be able to release your vision?
I told you she's not even in it. She's not in my version of the album, in my visual album. She's not in it. She's not in it. She features so minimally in my version.
She even less than what she did.
Even less.
But no, I do think that that's a great idea because again, we all think depending on the type of learner you are, we all have some type of visual element to the way we see things and hear things. So yeah, and that's the reason why I loved Dance 100.
Yeah, I love Dance 100, and I feel like there are moments in my life where I feel like a song and a dance would better encapsulate how I feel than a conversation or emoting with my face, which I'm not always capable of doing because I'm not a particular emotional person. So
in my head, I'm just imagining you're deep in an argument with Bay, and all of a sudden you start breaking into.
I hate you so much right now.
With the dance moves to match.
It's very aggressive.
I wish you guys could see this.
It's a lot of this.
This is daggers.
Punching.
Daggers.
Punching. And shaking your head.
Oh God.
And smashing. There's gonna be a bat. That's the prop.
You're gonna kind of wish that he also communicates in the exact same way without the prop.
He could have a baseball bat if you want.
Who's he hitting? No one.
He's defending himself.
This ain't Jonathan Majors.
Oh.
We will talk about that another day.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah.
We need more, evidence.
We have gotten the evidence.
We need more story. But we will be back.
There is a lot more to that story.
Exactly.
There is a lot more to that story. We're waiting to hear it all.
Yeah, and it needs to unfold. And then we'll talk about it.
Because a criminal may have criminaled. No, I would say a criminal has definitely criminaled.
Something has happened.
I do not think this is the first time a criminal has criminaled.
Listen to some of the blinds excerpts that come out.
Yeah, those blind items. We'll collect them all and we'll do a deep
deep dive.
The Murderer version of how have we got to this point.
That's an idea for a Patreon in the future.
Yeah.
Deep dive into pop culture, stories and news. We know
like Who Bit Beyonce.
Oh, so we're just foreshadowing everything that's coming up.
I didn't know anything about that, by the way.
Did you not?
No, we'll get to that.
We're going to get to it.
So, since we talked briefly about a show...
Yeah, we did.
In our intro, should we just turn our pop culture news into a pop culture news and mini... I'm calling it a mini review, but we have a lot to say.
So much.
Part 1 review
of
Love is Blind. To be fair, I feel like in the past when we talked about Love is Blind, we've had to do multiple parts.
So many. We've done part 1, part 2, finale, reunion, and after special.
Okay, so this is pop culture news and part 1. Love is Blind.
Series 4.
Let's get into it.
Deal.
So, pop culture news this week. We're talking about Love is Blind, which is back again.
Back again. Series 4. It's been, to me, it feels like it's only been 6 months. Less than 6 months.
It feels like it's been 2.
Yeah, since series 3 ended. And I mean, when I say properly ended, with after the Altar special, and then series 4 starting. So I was actually shocked when I saw it come back. And I was like, and I got an email from Netflix, and I was like, what? What's going on?
I didn't even get an email.
But
I just saw it and then like, your top 10. I was like, top 10.
Oh, God.
And then I was like, oh, Love is Blind is back.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what my headline thought is this season? Love is Blind is in its parody of Love is Blind era. There was a lot of things that were happening on the show that I was like, this feels like a sketch of Love is Blind.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
The people that they even got for the pods felt like they were there to mock other people who've been in the pods before.
Yeah.
Some of the antics in the girls' quarters felt like if you took Love is Blind doing things, like everything we just felt like we were in feels like we're in a parody era.
Yeah.
Like the show's become so self-aware that it's now commenting on the show.
Yeah. Well, because everyone knows what this show is about, and everyone knows the format, everyone knows the beats, everyone knows how it works, and everyone knows the success that you may get from it after you come from the show. If you've listened to our previous series review, please listen, because it was hilarious as we broke down part 1, part 2, and there was many parts. I said that love is blind and drama is sight. This season, there is no love.
Oof.
It's just fully drama, and if you know me, I just want to see the love, and I feel like with each season, it's depleted bit by bit, to the point where now it's just 100% drama, and I'm not rooting. Well, actually, I have 1 or 2 couples I'm rooting for.
And
but
again, not even necessarily interesting drama in all cases.
It's petty, and I was trying to point this out, and I didn't want to sound ageist, but like a lot of the drama are coming from the younger girlies, and when I say younger girlies, it's like under 30s. These are girls that's late 20s, and they're the ones that are causing the most drama or the most immaturity. Whereas with this season, I think in comparison to other seasons, most of the contestants are actually slightly older, like in their early 30s or later 30s, and that's not even old. That's someone who's also in their early 30s.
Speak for yourself.
Don't give a couple of weeks. You're gonna be joining me too.
I'm incredibly young.
Yeah, please. But what I'm saying is that I thought, okay, maybe with this season, and they're based in Seattle, I thought, okay, with this new season, there's a fresh new state, and also a great opportunity for us to have older contestants, because that was one of the issues from the previous season when you had the likes of Bartiste, who was 25 saying he wants to get married and it was acting a fool in all the shows he was in. So I was hopeful, but to me, you're right. It's in a parody era. It's fully in the drama era. I don't see love anymore in this show.
No.
But I still love it. I'm sorry.
It's just an incredibly juicy show. Like honestly, only properly works for me when it's dramatic.
Yeah.
Like Brett and Tiffany. I was like...
I think they're the only ones that have potential to last. And it's because they're a little bit older.
I know, but equally I was like, are you guys not going to fight once?
I don't... In this pool of the mess that's in this show, I'm happy for them to be the boring ones.
Do you think you could marry someone you've never had an argument with?
No.
Right.
Because
that was my thinking. Yeah. I was like, this has been too smooth. And I'm not saying that like you can't just be nice to each other. It's only been 2 weeks, so maybe it's possible to have not had a fight in that time.
Yeah.
But the idea of being like, I know for a fact I'm going to be married to you, and I don't know what you're like when you're mad, is scary to me.
Yeah, and I agree. That's one of the key things that is, I was gonna say the word non-negotiable, and that's wrong, but that is one of the key qualities I need to see in you, because I need to know how you react when you're under pressure. I need to see how you react when you're in being confronted or confronting someone. And I need to see how you are in an argument, because people can switch left, right, and center when they get into a heated, hostile environment. And when they argue with you, they can turn from being like lover boy, so sweet, so kind, pays me all this attention and words of affirmation, to I'm gonna drag you and find the lowest common denominator and
Marshall
and insult your wig.
Oh no, we'll come to that, because what Marshall says to Jackie when he's annoyed actually shook me to my core.
I forgot, what did he say?
He says to her, I saw you as a project.
I forgot.
I said I thought that you had limitless potential, and if I just she let that go
too quick.
I'd have been like, I'm out of here. You saw me as a project. And he said it twice.
He did, yeah.
He said, you saw me as a project. He said, yeah, I saw you as a project. And I thought, if I spent enough time on you, you'd figure yourself out.
Who the hell do you think you are?
Sorry, him and Brett use very HR type language. Yeah. Oh, I want to be with someone who empowers me, who I lift up, who we support. I'm like, this sounds like you want to get a manager. It doesn't sound like you want a wife. Because you're not, honestly, if I was in the pod and you were saying married life is going to be me lifting you up, empowering you, promoting you, giving you a pay rise, if you know the kind of language you use towards me, I'm like checking out. Yeah. Where's the romance, baby? No.
It's a business deal.
It's given very business transaction, and I don't want to go into. I don't want to go into a silent partnership with you.
But for some of these ladies,
I'm not trying to start a label.
Yeah, for some of these ladies, because the bar is so low, just anyone articulating a purpose of what they see the relationship being is like, well, he must be the one.
But it's very dangerous to me, because it's like, why is it specifically black women and black men approach marriage and partnership and coupling as a business proposal, and as this thing where I saw you as a project, I said you thought that you had limitless potential. Do you like me? Do you like me?
And most of the time these guys don't.
Because if you're talking about who's a project, you don't like me as I am. You're hoping to build me into something that you like. Most people are with people that they like. And it just so happens that they want to grow with that person, and that they're excited to see what else happens. I want to go on this journey with you because I like you as is. You're giving, I see in you a woman I could turn into someone I like. And I don't like that.
I don't like that at all. Because right.
This was Marshall more than Brett. Like I do believe Brett really, really likes Tiffany, and I believe that Tiffany really, really likes Brett. But both of their mindset towards marriage is very much like a business dealing.
I think,
and I can't. I just don't know what's sexy about that.
No, I think there's a couple of things. I get the concept of America, and I'm not trying to say
I do think it's a very American
because marriage is very much a business legal obligation. It is a business and legal binding agreement globally. But the thing is with America in comparison to most countries is that if you divorce, when you leave his ass, he's gonna leave with half. Sorry, Kanye.
He's gonna leave your ass for a white girl.
And they also will leave your ass for a white girl. But what I'm saying is like, when she leaves your ass, she'll leave with half. But what I'm saying
18 years. 18 years. On the 18th
birthday,
you found out he wasn't here.
I'm just so
into my brain.
The way the guy he preempted his own future, because some of this is true. Some of this is coming to life today.
You get what you get.
She spent your money with lipo.
Ooh.
With that money.
You're supposed to buy your kid Tyco for that money. She went to the doctor and got lipo for that money.
She's out here looking like
Michael for your money. If you ain't no chop, holla, we want prenup. We want prenup. Yeah. Okay, then we need to get serious.
So why I'm saying that is because with things like prenups, with the things like when you divorce, he can have you can take half of his estate, they can take half of your estate. This whole thing about spousal support, it is very much a legally binding thing. Even in America, if you don't pay for your child support, you can you may not be able to go to leave the country because they will take your passport.
Good.
Because it becomes a criminal offence.
You shouldn't have had the kids you don't want to pay for them, sweetheart.
So that's the thing. I think it is transactional because marriage is seen as so transactional, especially in America.
But the thing is, you're not bypassing the fact that you may or may not get a divorce with someone by telling them that your plan is to lift them up and support them and give them career advice. I don't want
That's
that.
nonsense. And I think there's a lot of men out here, and I'm not trying to generalize like just black men, but there's a lot of men out here who think, well, I can.
They're really looking at marriage
like women, like, oh, don't worry, I can build you. We can be a power couple, but I will build you.
This is a business partnership, honey. If I was going into business, I would not make decisions based on dick. I'm going into partnership with my friend who I know.
Yeah.
I'm not going into partnership with a guy because he has a nice haircut. Like, think in your head. The things that draw you to a partner are not the same things that you would be drawn to in business.
Yeah.
So why are you talking about business?
I don't know. It's because even when Brett was talking about like what's your biggest accomplishment, he talked about how, you know, and
Did he go to uni?
Did he go to uni and then he got discovered by night because he loves trainers.
Great story.
Great. And that, perfect. Like if you want to date and he spread that story, I'm like, that is so inspiring. But then tell me what another thing about you that you have achieved. And I would like, you could say something like, you know, before I used to have these issues that went to therapy and I see myself grow. That is an achievement in itself as well. That's a personal thing outside of work.
Brett, I'm going to say something. Yeah. That is, when I was watching it, I found it really difficult. But I think we should talk about it. Not difficult, like I found it hard to understand in the moment, and then when I went and thought about it some more, and I was like, oh, I see what's happened. Brett kind of low-key reminds me of my uncle in that, like, when you've experienced a level of poverty that's so extreme, your entire life becomes about never becoming that poor again. And you have this tunnel vision that makes you a very particular kind of person. And all of that talk, all that business talk, all of that is all stems from, I'm never going to be that broke again. I refuse to be that broke again. It has changed me as a person, and it rules me. Yeah. And I find that really, like, don't get me wrong, I love my uncle, and he definitely has other qualities, but it is the priority in almost every decision that he makes.
About money.
Yeah. And making sure that he has money, stuff. He, you know, every penny he makes goes into business. Okay. He's in Ghana, he's thriving, right? Yeah. He's got this business, got that business, got a farm, he's got all these houses. Every decision he makes is for that. So he lives very frugally. Yeah. Which is like, why are you doing all this work not to enjoy the money?
That's how
I live.
That's how exactly like my dad.
Why are you doing all this work to not enjoy the money? Yeah. You realise when you die, you can't take the money with you. The money's going to stay here. And guess what? I said this to him. I was like, I'm going to be completely blunt. The minute you die, we're selling all your shit. I'm not moving to Ghana to run a business. It's going. So when it's gone and you're in heaven looking down, be like, wow, these kids really... Yeah, we did.
Because where did you put your investment? This is a story. This is a... Not a date and scribble, sorry. This is a Patreon story, but... I think there's a whole thing about poverty mentality.
It fucks you up.
It messes you up so much. And like I listen to my dad, and a lot of the conversations always revolve around money. Or like, and almost like criticism of how I spend my money. And I'm like, but you don't, or how like my siblings spend their money. And I always think like, you've not contributed that much to us when we were growing up. You did help, but when we were in time of need, you didn't want to because you want to be frugal and keep the money to yourself. And now you spend a lot of time just worrying about money. And I'm like, what is this going for?
What is it for?
What is it for? And money is important. We're living in the cost of living crisis. We don't want to like negate that. But again, it's like you said, it's like, where is that money going? And the life you're living, why are you almost struggling? You're striving, and I'm not saying you know you can actually thrive if you've worked hard. You can thrive, but then you're still in the mentality that you just have to keep on striving.
You are in survival mode still, and it's never gonna be enough.
No, and I think it's more of a generational thing, because I think your uncle and my dad is probably the same age. Yeah, and it's definitely the whole idea of, well, like you said, I don't ever want to be that poor again. Or I have to keep all this money just in case. Just in case of what?
In case of what?
Because even things like life insurance, putting things in trust, putting things like the financial advice that you should really be looking at. I'm not saying I don't know about your uncle, what he does, but those are things.
He only just drew up a will the other day. And that became a whole drama in the family, which I won't go into here, but like, all of the things, like, it's very interesting because the mindset is very much the mindset of when you was back home, but you live in the UK. If you die tomorrow here, the money that you've amassed, we wouldn't see it.
No.
Because you haven't put the things in place for us to see it.
Tax will come and just collect the whole thing.
And then you think we'll be the ones getting... I was like, I'm being so honest with you. Of all of my cousins, all of his children, the person who would be like, well, we should go over would be me. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. My life is here. It's complicated enough here. Yeah. I'm about to go to Ghana and be like, hi, I'm here to collect my uncle. Please, whoever wants it can have it. Yeah. Give me money and I'll give it to you. I don't need it. Why are we struggling here? A simple birthday present, can you buy it for people? No. Oh, don't worry because I'm setting stuff up for you. God.
No, please take the money.
It's a sickness. I truly believe it. Like, I asked this guy the other day, I was like, do you have hobbies? He's like, going to Ghana is my... So I said, that's not a hobby. Yeah.
When my dad goes to Nigeria, I'm like, are you gonna...
Have you ever relaxed in your life?
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm just gonna sit in the compound. I'm like, when we went to Nigeria the first time we went, I was bored stiff. I said, no, you've dragged me out here and I paid for my flight to come. My siblings did them because they were much younger. I paid for my flight. I want to experience this land. Yes, we get to see auntie and uncles. All great. But what else is there? Because this is a beautiful country and I know, but I'm not going to sit in your compound and experience Nigeria and Lagos from here. And so we thankfully we had cousins that were similar ages and they took us out. But it was, I mean, if the holiday was being run by him,
you would never...
compound life.
My nan used to force my uncles to be like, take them to the beach. We'd go to the beach, we'd sit down. Uncle, can we get something to eat? He'd be like, why don't you eat at home? We've been at the beach for 4 hours. We have not had one single drink, one single food. You would have to, when I tell you, for this man to reach in his pocket and take money, you have to be starving. You have to be at death's door. Yeah. Okay, one Fanta and you guys can share it. I said, no. I'm never getting married because if this is what life is, that you've accidentally married someone who's gone through, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've experienced anything close to what he experienced. Like his version of poverty and my version of poverty are very, very different. And I know it has scarred him. That feeling every day, wake up in the morning, are we going to eat today? Yeah. I've never had that. I've always had food on the table. Yeah. I've had a very different experience of poverty. I've had a very UK-centric experience of poverty.
And I think some people underestimate that. What does poverty look like in the UK versus in other countries? Like at the moment, it is in the cost of living crisis that we're experiencing.
It's very different. It's getting closer to a third world country.
Some people are experiencing poverty now because they're deciding whether they have enough money to pay for fuel or food. Yeah. But they are not experiencing the third world poverty and what that looks like. So it's definitely poverty mentality, especially people that have come over from, immigrants have come over to the UK or other countries. I think they're still in that mindset, but they're still there and they're not. And it's different. And the struggles that we face are always going to be a little bit different from other places. Sure. But then sometimes you always look down on like, you need money for your school bus pass. Oh, that's a problem. Oh, in Nigeria, this would be the case. I'm like, it's different.
I walk 17 hours to go to school. Okay, but that's you.
It's different. I need to get to school.
Why walking 17 hours? I've missed school.
Exactly.
So what's the point?
I've not even missed school. I've missed the next day. Most likely.
I missed a week of school. Walking to school apparently.
Oh God.
It is long.
It is. And that's why when we did our Ix last year, when we were joking about it, my number one thing is I cannot date a cheap man. And I made a joke. I was listening back to one of the TikToks. Follow us on TikTok if you're not.
At Scripts and Giggles.
And I think I said, I can't date a cheap man, and you said, and I think it's because I said, because he's gonna pay for the date, and I won't go out with a guy who is not gonna ask me for the date because he's also gonna have to pay for it as well. But that was the wider context, was that I don't want to date a guy who is stuck in poverty mentality, because your life will be in struggle.
It doesn't work for me. Well, one thing about me, I'm poor, but I really like to live my life as if I'm not poor. When people say poverty is a mentality, I super support that, because I do not live my life as if I'm poor. I am poor. I'm cash broke. Believe me, you look at my bank account, you'll be like, I don't understand, don't you have a job? But I do not live my life by those rules. I live well. I have to. Why am I working to struggle? I've done 5 days in the office. Yeah, if I want to spend £2,000 this weekend,
don't make yourself sound like you're irresponsible. You're not.
No, I would never do that. But like, if I wanna buy myself a new coat, I'm gonna buy myself a new coat. If I wanna go on holiday, I'm gonna go on holiday.
Yeah.
I don't see what the point of me struggling is at this stage in my life. I don't even have children yet.
Yeah, it's a different. That's it. When children, more responsibilities come, it's a different life. I remember when my dad used to criticize me for going on holiday, and I'd be like, "Oh, but I've been working for the past 6, 7, 8, 9, obviously a year, and I've not taken a break. Okay, so I want to just go to Europe for one day, and this is when flights and tickets were cheap. There's a different kettle of fish now, and I used to get criticism, and I realized." You don't know what holidays are because your holiday is from the UK to Lagos to do work, and then Lagos back to UK to do more work. So you've never sat down and been like, let me just sit down and relax myself.
Let me just go Portugal.
Yeah.
See what Portugal's saying.
Although every time you've seen other parts of the countries when you're on stopovers.
Literally. Because you decide to get the cheapest flight possible, and it takes 14 hours to get to a place that takes 6 hours. Because now you're sitting in Turkey for 4 hours. I don't want to live that life.
Come on.
He was like, yeah, if you want to go Ghana, you can go Ghana. I'm like, no, because the tickets are like £800. He was like, not if you fly.
No.
I said,
honestly,
you don't understand. Every single day that I take as leave is precious. I cannot spend a day traveling.
Because it's my paid leave, so I'm being paid to sit in airports
for 2 days. To spend 4 days in Ghana and get back on my 2 day. Come on now.
No. So I mean, when I think about Brett, and I didn't really see as much with Brett, and when he talked, then that Marshall mentioned the whole project thing, he sounded like what some women talk about with men, when they say like, "Oh, I'm dating you because I see your potential in your projects and I can fix you."
So Micah kept talking about how when people would give Paul a compliment about how he looked, she was like, "Well, this is actually my styling." I think even that energy of being like, "I've built this.
That was gonna be 2 weeks.
I've made this. I've built this." It's like, I mean, it sounds on paper like a really good idea, but actually, it just gives very much, you're a product to me.
No.
And I don't want to be a product to someone, I'm a person. No. And actually, I existed before I met you, and I was doing quite fine. Yeah. So if you think you've come in my life and you've turned this ship around, you're
heavily mistaken. Yeah.
Nobody turns around unless they want to.
That is true.
And a perfect example of that is Marshall and Jackie.
Yes.
For all him saying, you're a project, the project you failed. You got an F on that project, babe.
I feel that there's more to come with that story because, so with Jacqueline and Marshall, it was very interesting.
And Nick. The love triangle.
Yeah, the Nick. Because their story came really quickly, but it was very much marred by, or covered by a lot of the other couples that came before them. They were one of the last to get engaged.
Mm-hmm. The relationship only rose to prominence at the point where Jacqueline said, I had a chat with Nick, and he said he's going to walk from this experiment if I couple up with someone else.
So manipulative.
At that point, Marshall says, I'm fuming, I can't believe this. I'm like, she's crying as well, which I'm like, I don't really understand why you're this upset. Unless it read to me as she's upset because she doesn't want to make someone else upset. But she's not really feeling Nick, she's feeling Marshall. At some point, she's going to have to tell him. But also, to me, a part of me read it as like she was upset because Marshall was so mad.
Yeah.
Then at that point, I was like, I'm getting a bit of a red flag here because if I tell you a piece of information, you're kicking off like this, it's going to make me nervous, it's going to make me scared, and I don't want to be with someone who I feel like I can't tell stuff to because they're going to kick off. Anyway, Marshall then says he goes back to the boys' quarters and is telling everyone but Nick, someone in here is a fucking snake. They're talking to my girl, and when I find out, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, you're doing a lot. You're
doing too much in my head, yeah.
At that point, he's like, are you talking about me? He's like, depends. Did you have a date with Jackie? He's like, yep. And then Marshall gave us nothing.
No. This is a time when, if we're really leaning into drama's sides, I wanted them to fight. I thought they were going to.
The energy that he walked into that place with, he was making it seem like he was about to fight someone. Yeah. When Nick has put his hand up, you said, oh, actually, I don't want to fight him.
No.
I was hoping it was going to be Zack or Paul.
Yeah, true. So I can take them. I
don't think I can fight you.
Actually, between the two of them, Nick would have taken him. Yeah.
Nick would have destroyed him.
Yeah.
So that came to nothing, but Jacqueline chooses Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall, can I just say, like, again, this is another thing where I was like, I feel like I would be bad on this show because I'd find it really hard not to laugh. When Marshall was like, yeah, so Marshall's source story was when he was a kid, he had to learn maths, it was really hard. And he'd sit at the dinner table and his dad would be like, you're fucking stupid.
No,
it's not funny.
It's not funny because I understood, like, I kind of saw him. I saw him in that moment.
It's not funny, but I was like...
He's always been spoken down to, that's what he's saying.
You realise people got raised by parents who beat the shit out of them for just existing.
Yeah.
And you're crying about maths. You're a big man as well. You're now 26. Why is that your formative memories being told off about maths? I'm so sorry. How she didn't clock in that moment how he was going to be going forward based on that story is on her. I was just like, okay.
I mean, when I saw that story, I felt bad for him. But I didn't think anything more than that. I was just like, oh, that's a sad story.
Listen, I get it. My issue, and I know it's a me issue, is I've been through enough in my life that is nothing to me. Yeah. And if your formative memory is, it's like when a colleague of mine was telling their trauma story and they're like, yeah, I wore a blazer to school when everybody else wasn't wearing blazers. I had the worst, 2 months of my life, and then my mum moved me to another school and I had a great time. After I've told a story about how when I went to university, I was the only black person there, and I just realised for the first time what racism really was. Like, it's very weird to follow with that. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Just sit. I'm assuming this person was not of the same.
No,
was not black.
No, they were not black.
If I was you, I would just sit and nod.
I wouldn't have said anything else.
Just sit, nod, keep quiet.
You're following my story with. Yeah, I had a really hard time.
I was othered because of my blazer.
Yeah, literally, I was othered because of my blazer, and I was like, well, I was othered because of something I have no control over. This is kind of me now.
This is my blazer. I cannot take this off.
I can't go to another school. I'm gonna still look like this. Yeah. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. That was what it gave me a little bit, and I feel really bad because I just feel like one thing that it made me think as I was watching it, it's like one thing I have to be careful of is not looking at other people's sad stories and being like, it is not as sad as mine, so it's not sad. Because it clearly did affect him. It was a formative memory for him, and it made him upset, and I can respect, and that is what I should have taken away first. But I'm not gonna lie, when I heard it, I said, not you crying about maths.
You know what that's
When was the last time you did maths? Like, this is the forefront of your brain. Every morning I look in the mirror, guess what? I'm still black.
You know what that threw me back to? Ping and Will from Couples Therapy.
But she was like, I'm not being funny, I don't give a fuck about that story. It's boring as hell.
No, you weren't there with my mother. Was it her mum beat her?
Yeah. She's her mum left her somewhere.
Abandoned me, and it doesn't really compete because I had to do that. I was like, oh, this is couples therapy. Please listen to that review.
Like couples therapy.
It was. Oh, that was wild.
That's what I thought in my head. Obviously, I would not sit there and I wouldn't do Ping and be like, anyway. But I'm sure it was given when Barties was telling his story too. And then Raven was just like, oh my god, that sounds awful.
That, to me, she foretold what
she said this story ain't shit.
Yeah, she told us what we needed to know.
And that is how, honestly, Jacqueline should have been in that mindset, said, I don't care about this.
Yeah, actually, you know what, it's going
because
back...
she then led him on.
Yeah, that's true. Because actually, going back to Brett and Tiffany, when Tiffany was falling asleep at the end of episode 1, I do think some of it was fake, but I'm telling you, it's like...
Out like a light.
I was going to say, I really...
When the other girls came to wake her up...
I really related to that moment right there.
I bet you did.
I did. Because if you don't know...
One thing about Shoshanna, she fall asleep anywhere.
Absolutely. I related because like, this could be... The man is telling me I'm the love of his life, and I am knocked out. Barely opening, trying to keep my eyes open.
Do they not let them sleep on this show?
I think it's quite constant. You have to get engaged in the space of 10 days.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's why people make bad decisions. I haven't slept. I haven't had time to think about this.
But that being said, it was just a bit fake when their friends came over and she was like, yay! I'm like, if I was in deep sleep, enough to not hear anything, I will have crust in my eyes.
I disagree.
You don't think?
I disagree. A friend of ours, one time we went to a university to like visit our friend's sister. And a friend of ours we'd been drinking, we'd done pre-drinks, and she passed out, and we were like, right, we're not going to the club anyway. We're now having a conversation, the people who are awake. I think someone's playing music on their phone, And I shit you not, our friend sat upright out of her coma and danced to this song.
Eyes closed.
Eyes closed, eyes not open. Did a little two-step.
That story
fell straight back to sleep.
That story has lived through our friendship group for many years.
Because she's like, that never happened.
And the thing is, everyone else has been like, 100% that did.
When I told you, I was not there. I screamed when she sat up. She sat up like a mummy. If you've ever seen an episode of Scooby-Doo, the way the mummy sits up and starts doing that.
No, Scooby-Doo.
I said, what is happening? We're like, hey, open your eyes. What's going on? Just dance and dance. I was like, what is going on? She's awake. Are you awake? Are you feeling okay? Out like a light.
Wow.
Back out like a light. So, I don't know. It is possible to wake up and just be...
Yeah, just dance. So, yeah, that's Marshall and Jacqueline. The one thing I will flag about that couple, because to me, they were unsuspecting. I didn't really think too much of them because we're going to go into some of the couples that really I was 100% they were in my brain full-time free. What do they call it? Rent-free, because they took up most of the series for me. But Marshall and Jacqueline were like quite under the radar until they got to the honeymoon, and she broke down, and I was like, "What is going on?" I remember
that was so weird.
So she made a message on Instagram after the series was released and said that the reason why she was so emotional was because her parent, I think her dad, had been suffering with some form of cancer. I'm just going to say it was multiple different body parts. I think it was the neck and the throat. And so she was financially supporting the family. So when she went on Love is Blind, she was worried that because she had left, she wasn't going to be able to support them financially.
Why are you going on Love is Blind at this point in your life?
That's the biggest question.
Why are you going on Love is Blind at this point in your life?
But if you've exhausted all avenues, is Love is Blind the only option?
I'm just saying that at this point in your life where you have a lot of things going on.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Should you be on a dating show?
Perfectly honest. You had someone like SK who had a legit degree to go to and said, I'm going to do Love is Blind instead.
Very silly. It's
not the same at all.
No, of course, but like, I that to me feels... I don't know. It would take a lot for me to go on a dating show, but I feel like if I was dealing with that, I'm not deciding, you know what, let me go on Love is Blind. And maybe she applied and then forgot about it and then it came back and it was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me. True. It did not, to me. I do not feel like this was a good opportunity for her. She should have stayed at home because her trajectory on the show really went somehow, even though Marshall said that thing about her being a project, she ended up being the villain in that relationship.
She is. Because when Nick... So, fast forward to another reunion with all the couples again. So this is once they were back in Seattle after honeymoon.
And they've been having these little spats.
Yeah.
Continuously. Yeah. One of the spats involved her telling Marshall to man up.
Yes.
Boss up is what she said. Which is like, you're being facetious now. You know, you're being obtuse. You know... Boss up has the same connotations as man up.
It was giving me toxic masculinity. Like
100%. After he's told you the story about, basically my dad made me feel small and not like a real man, and I've been with people in the past who've made me feel small and not like a real man for wanting to take care of them and love them. For you to use that language is especially cruel because you know how it makes that person feel. And then she's like, well, I never said man up, I said boss up.
Yeah.
That's like telling you to grow up. All of these things stem from the same, like you're being obtuse now, you know what the hell you're doing.
This is reminding me of the girlies that say that they want like the tough guy,
the bad boy,
and then when the bad boy is being bad, you're like, but he's a waste man, but you know, men are trash. No, you're picking the men that are trash because you want the bad boy, because the good boy to you is boring. You want to be always on the edge, you want to always be like, I don't know what he's doing, you want to always be checking his phone, whereas the good guy who will treat you well, and I don't know, I can't speak for Marshall because we still need to watch the rest of this season, but the good guy who will treat you well and who will look after you, he's too boring. He doesn't have an edge to him.
I'm going to be honest.
Go on.
Marshall gave me the ick.
You know when he gave me the ick is when they first met, when the doors opened, they first met, they hug, they kiss, he gives her the wedding ring, and he turns around and he does a little like
bop
and circling, as he's going back to his part of the thing. I was like, what the heck is going on?
Marshall gave me the ick, and the reason why Marshall gave me the ick is because, as much as Jacqueline is a villain, because she has not experienced like a love that's not painful, so she doesn't have space for someone like Marshall. I think that Marshall goes after women who are deliberately emotionally unavailable, and then so he could be like, well, here I am, just a good guy giving my love to people, and they just, I don't buy.
Yeah, what he's
when that for him, the way he switched and said, "You're a project to me. I saw you as a project." That's a inside of him. That is really how he looks at these situations, which means he goes after women that he thinks that he needs to build up.
Yeah.
So I don't feel sorry for him in this situation.
Yeah.
I do think she's more villainous, but I also feel like both of them need to go to therapy.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of people that should have really diverted themselves to the therapy door
instead of going
to the pods. Yeah, forget the therapy, forget the pods. Go to the therapy pods instead. And when I think it became
do you think
even
therapy is conducted in pods. I'm just checking.
I was trying to make a joke, like rather than walk.
I was worried for a second that you thought your therapist is behind a wall and you, like, as if you're in confession, and you just start blurting out how you feel, and they're like, "Oh my god, what?"
Would that make therapy easier?
Go to confession then. And my boss used to have this. I think I said this on our lost episode about couples therapy.
Yeah.
My boss was like, therapy has replaced going to confession.
Yes.
Like, you would go to confession, you would speak to your priest, they would give you advice, and then they would give you this thing to absolve yourself, and then you would go out into the world like anew. And people don't do that anymore, but instead they're going to see their therapist, where they confess their sins essentially. Their therapist gives them advice, and then they go out into the world anew.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, 100% there's a version of that where you know, there are similarities, but I think a modern therapist kind of do want to be in the room with you at the very least. They don't want to be behind the wall.
I agree. You need to build that connection as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when it became even more obvious that there was some issues when Nick came. I mean, Nick, when he came back to that party, my guy was on one. He was giving me Shane from series 3, if you know what I'm saying.
Everyone was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And why
is he
being
here?"
a nightmare?"
He was loud, obnoxious. I think he was drunk or under influence.
It was giving drunk to me.
Yeah. He wanted people to know who he was. He was like that drunk guy that comes up to like the group of girls, because there was a scene when he came up to all the girls like, "Hey ladies, how you doing?" And everyone's like, "And you are?"
He referred to himself as a certified lover boy.
Like it's Drake.
Very crazy to me that, and just so indicative of why Jacqueline needs to go to therapy.
Yeah.
That she found the way he conducted himself that night endearing in any way that she met up with him again.
I don't know how he was in the pod, because they didn't really show too much of him in the pod.
She said that he wasn't in any way emotional in the pods. And so him turning up that night and being like, off his face, being like, "I was in love with you, girl." Was enough for her to be like, "Wow."
Oh, God, please. So yeah, I don't know where that relationship is going, because it kind of ended with Nick and Jacqueline just chatting and Marshall looking on. I'm very worried for this couple, and we're going to do predictions, and I can't wait for us to do it, because I don't know where this is going. So yeah, I'm very nervous about this couple. I don't know where they're going to go.
And they just seem to be fighting all the time. Just feels like two people who are constantly butting heads. I can't work out who... Like, a part of me feels like Jacqueline is not trying to adjust in any way to being in a relationship with Marshall. It comes across like Marshall's trying his best, actually. Yeah. But equally, I can imagine he would be suffocating. Like, there's an episode where he, like, makes her breakfast. And he's like, "Oh, no, I'll wash the dishes and I'll do this." And it's like, for me personally, I'd be like, this is a lot. Yeah. And I don't want this every single day. I don't want to be with someone... Like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but, like, I want to be with someone who knows when I need something like that done. But not every single day, "I've done this, I've done that."
But when she broke down the first time, I felt he was very attentive to that moment. Yes. And I think that was something that I was like,
she was pushing him away.
She was pushing him away. And I was like, but this is hope, because, and this is showing me some maturity, because he's really being like, I'm here for you in this moment. I don't know what's going on, because I was as lost as he was, but I'm here for you, and I want to support you, and whatever's going on, just lean on me. And I really, that moment, I was like, I really like Marshall in this role, and I think he's been a really great representative of being a strong partner for your strong woman, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, we'll go for predictions.
Rip the two of them.
Yeah, I don't
to be
know.
honest.
I'm worried, but they also give me the Matt and Colleen vibe from series 3. And
I just don't see them making it down the aisle on the basis that, like, of all the couples, they seem to be having the most fights, and the most fights about stuff that you can't follow. Like, as a viewer, as you're watching it, I'm like, I don't understand what the problem is here.
Yeah.
Apart from where she tells him to boss up. But then she's like, well, the issue is it's a sex thing. I feel like you don't initiate sex. And then he's like, but you don't initiate sex with me.
Oh, come on. This is not, like, initiating sex doesn't make you a man or less of a man or more of a woman, whatever. I think they need to have a conversation, perhaps off camera, of what the sex look like in their relationship. Because I feel like they haven't communicated what each person needs or wants, and that's where they're having this miscommunication.
That was a question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Because you're right. That was exactly the feeling I got. Why was this not discussed?
In the pods?
Yeah.
I don't know, because they showed scenes in the pods where they have moments where, you know, they always have this segment where they show the couples talking about intimacy and what the sex look like, and someone always gets hot on the cover. The collar, excuse me.
Paul was wild. I found him really uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, every single person he's speaking to, he is like, "Did you want to fuck?" Like, it's just giving. It was like, and then to see how he then behaves beyond that point, where he's just like this big nerdy guy. I was like, you was talking a big game in the rooms. I was expecting you to first night be throwing me around. You didn't do shit anyway.
Well, yeah, we're gonna talk about them, but I think that's a conversation they should have had, and they probably did. But maybe in real life, I don't think she's physically attracted to him.
No.
I don't think, because I remember seeing them, and I'm not a heightist. However, they're exactly the same height, and that girl was wearing heels when they first met. She was almost like a slither taller than him.
You are a heightist.
I'm not a heightist. I'm just saying.
You're trying to. You're drawing attention to an important issue.
I'm not. No, I'm just saying that she's not physically attracted to him, because she even mentioned, like, oh, my previous guys used to be like 6'X, and like big and muscular. You know, basically sports guys. I think she was trying to describe. So, and she's like, Marshall's not my type, and to me, that's a red flag. Like, if he's not your type, now it's not going to change. Like, when you see a guy on a dating app and he's not your type, don't even bother.
Speaking of people who are not each other's types,
go on.
Irina and Zack.
Oh my gosh.
Irina, Zack, Bliss, should we say, is the love triangle.
Yeah, the love triangle.
Irina, Zack, and Bliss, the love triangle to end all love triangles.
Yeah.
I was somewhat confused, shall we say?
Yeah.
By the attraction in the pods, even.
Yeah.
Between Zack and Irina.
100%.
Because they didn't strike me as two people who had anything in common other than we both grew up poor. And that's, again, I honestly think that this season was kind of a thesis about that poverty mentality, because how can you be making decisions for your life partner on the fact that both of you was poor at one point in your life? Like, that's crazy.
That's actually nuts.
I was watching it thinking in my head, like, I have in the past, and I need to think about this more because I haven't thought about it since watching this, and it has really made me rethink it. But been like, I can't imagine myself with someone who didn't grow up working class.
Interesting.
Like, I don't want to be with someone who grew up upper middle class or middle class and have to explain certain things to them. I don't feel ashamed about bringing them to where I grew up. None of that stuff.
Do you think they could be in the same culture but also upper middle class? I.e., like, they're Ghanaian but also upper middle class.
I was literally saying, I think I prefer to be with someone who wasn't Ghanaian, who was working class, over someone who was Ghanaian and did not grow up in the same way as me, because I feel like class is such a divider.
Yeah.
That being said, watching people make decisions about their life partner when there's somebody who has the same interests, the same goals, the same humour, they find the same things that you find cute, over someone who grew up poor. is crazy to me.
And that's where you see the difference between Bliss and Irina.
Yeah. So then I was watching that thinking, oh, maybe I need to examine this idea. Like in my head, when I say I would want to be with someone who grew up working class, it's because I imagine we would have the same references, we've had the same life experiences, we have the same, and like the thing that drives us is the same.
Yeah.
And in that sense, that would be, I'd feel more at home with that person than someone who have to explain to them why I do X, why I do Y. But I wouldn't pick a working class person who I have nothing in common with over someone I absolutely had everything in common with who happened to grow up in a better, in a higher class than me.
To me, that was wild because
that's exactly what happened.
Because, again, quick summary, Zack had two potential interests. It was Bliss and Irina, and he had a good connection with Bliss. Like they got on well. They had this like similar song that they connected to from their mom's favorite song. I mean, I think it's a common song, but it was something that they connected to.
Something about owls as well.
Yeah, something random.
Bizarre.
When it was his birthday, she baked him cupcakes.
Yep.
Irina, however, like they had some banter or some jokes, but there was no other connection. She forgot that it was his even birthday, and she tried to take a candle from Bliss's cupcakes, and she was like, "No, mate."
Candle to put in what as well?
I
When
know,
she said, "Can I have
exactly.
the candle?" I was like, "For what?"
What are you gonna light it and then give it to the producer so that the producer can hold it, take it to Zach's pod,
They can put it out.
Oh yeah, and so it got to the point where because of that situation with Irina wanting to take Bliss's candle, and also some of the issues which we'll go into when we talk about Micah. People didn't like Irina, Bliss didn't like Irina, and there was some tension in the pods.
Is this the first time we've seen drama in the girls' or the boys' quarters play out in the pods? Because it's kind of the same with the Marshall. Like, I don't think we've ever seen people be like, I'm naming the other person you're talking to and I want to discuss this.
This is the first time I've seen it in the US format. I've also watched the Brazil format, and the Brazil format, they talk about the pods and they talk about the shared communal areas a bit more. So there was some drama with like one of the contestants and all the guys were like talking about one particular contestant, and one of the female contestants and saying like she's like almost a tryhard, and that caused some beef with the men, and she found out. That's the first time I've seen it where you see a bit more of the overspill of the communal area drama going into the pods. Whereas this one, it almost became like Zack became a mediator between Bliss and Irina, and he had never met any of them and seen them in real life, which was wild. And so at one point he was like, well, I trust Irina more. Like, I trust Irina, even though Bliss told Zack there was some issues with Irina. I don't really like her, the way she behaves. And if you choose her, it shows the kind of character you are. And my goodness, that girl was true to her words. However, we'll talk about her later. And Zack was like, oh, I'm torn, but I trust Irina more. But Bliss is a lovely girl and I connect with her.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, he decides to propose to Irina and broke up with Bliss. And it was really sad to see that breakup. And then they meet. And the minute they meet, there's always one couple in Love is Blind where they meet, the pods open, or the sliders open, they see each other and they realise it's not for me. And in the Brazil one, they met. There was one couple they met. They didn't even hug or kiss. And the next day, they basically announced, the guy left. He was like, he doesn't want to marry her.
Oh no!
It was really sad because I think she was a little bit like a bit more on the heavier side, and he didn't find her attractive, and that was it. And that was really sad and cut through.
Yeah, didn't even try.
No. So when Zack and Irina met, it was the most awkward thing. They chatted, they hugged, and then they sat on this bench that I even forgot there was a bench in that corridor thing, and they were chatting and it wasn't vibing. And Zack was odd, like he didn't blink.
Yeah, Irina said, honestly, what I think is the funniest thing I've ever heard anyone tell someone when they've met them the first time on Love is Blind, where she said, you look like a cartoon character.
Oh my god.
And then he said, I know.
What a weirdo. What a weirdo. It was odd. It was
Which
weird.
I think I blame on nerve. That weird thing of like, honestly, what are you supposed to say if someone says you look like a cartoon character?
Thanks.
And when he says, what one? She's like, I don't know, you just look like a cartoon character.
I don't know what cartoon character he looked like. But to me, I was just like, this is not working. And then
There's a meme going around on TikTok where someone, as an insult, you say to someone, you look easy to draw. And that is Zack's energy, I think. He looks easy to draw. But yeah, she was like, stop staring at me.
You're not blinking. And then he did lean in and say, oh, can I give you a kiss? And she's like, just a hug. And I was like, that's it. And she gave that exact same energy throughout the whole of the honeymoon. She didn't want to go near him.
It was really unpleasant.
It really
to
was.
watch, actually,
it was.
because it felt like he was very much like happy to see her. I mean, he was like, has anyone ever told you look like Megan Fox? In what little Megan Fox? Come on now.
I was so confused.
You're
I was
forcing
like,
it.
You really are. Like, come on. Like, she doesn't like you, and you're there saying, no, you look like Megan Fox.
Because I feel like he couldn't read what was happening, right? He didn't know if it was that she was just uncomfortable.
Or the cameras.
Maybe I just need to put her at ease. Because she had said, apparently, in the pods that she's quite insecure about her skin.
Yeah.
Saying that he liked her better without makeup. All of that stuff felt like, I'm trying to tell you that I like you. And she was just like, yeah, I don't like you.
That was tough. And so, yeah, it took a couple of days. And also, when they were on the honeymoon and met the other couples, that's when Irina realised that she liked Paul, who was the fiance of her best mate in the house, Micah. And we're going to talk about Micah and Irina because that's a separate conversation. They're their own couple as well because they were given real mean girl energy. And so then, after a couple of days, Zack said, you know what? I'm done. This is not a relationship that's going to work. You're not giving anything. And then, Irina was relieved. She was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And then he said something like, well, the guy that you actually like, he's engaged to your best friend. Like, it was so shady. And then she asked, oh, are you thinking of Bliss? That's when Zack's like, yeah, I've been thinking about Bliss the whole time. And then he had to go back and scamper back to Bliss and say, I made a mistake. And that's how the first batch ended. And then in the second batch you see them trying to rekindle the relationship.
They're going on dates.
The first date, I was confused because to me she wasn't giving much energy.
No.
And so I thought, oh, this is a cute little thing. He's met up with her, he's told her that he's sorry and he's made a mistake.
And she was trying to force it. Yeah. Is what you learn in that second batch because she I mean, he proposes to her.
That was wild. I'm so sorry.
And she says yeah.
The whole time.
So up until then, all the dates, he's like, can I kiss you? Or like, I can't wait to kiss you. And she's like, you're going to have to work a lot harder than that. Yeah. Like, her voice is like really like this. Amazing. And then he proposes to her on date 3 and she says yes. And admits in the confessional, I'm still in love with him. I've been in love with him this whole time. I've basically been putting on this like, I'm mad at you thing because I'm supposed to be mad at him, but I want to be with him.
The bar is low. I remember when I watched that proposal and she said yes, I said the bar is underground.
Listen, I feel like both of them are very particular people.
Yeah.
And have found someone.
Yeah.
Who they can be their particular selves with.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's brutal out here.
Yeah.
Am I going to go on a date and have to start from scratch when I found someone who, honestly, low-key, I kind of like?
I wish they did it off camera.
Same. I don't know why they put it on the show.
No, I really wish
I wonder if it's because
they lost a couple, so they had to replace.
Yeah, I wonder if it was because it's like, because Irina and Zack are done.
Yeah, finished
at the honeymoon.
Yeah.
So we would have just been watching 3 people.
But that's because that's the same thing that happened with. Okay, no, there was 5 couples. That's the same thing that happened in series 1 with Diamond and what's his name?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna. What did you say? What did Diamond say? And she swirled her hair. The Beyonce line, yeah. But I don't know. For me, maybe they begged them to stay on because I would have loved it to be that they rekindled if they wanted to, and then came back at the reunion and said, actually, Paul really worked hard and asked for forgiveness.
I wonder if earlier, and this is a production trick, I wonder if earlier Paul said, I made a mistake and I actually would like to get back with Bliss.
Oh,
and they
Zack,
said, Zack. And they said, go on the honeymoon at the very least. And then have teed up with Bliss. Hold on a second, you're not done. Because I personally cannot imagine getting over the idea of the person that I was madly in love with passing on me and then coming back on the show and getting married to him.
Second place, don't even...
And they have a weird conversation about that where he's like, you're not second place, because second place would imply that, like, I wanted to be with Irina, but I couldn't be with Irina. I don't want to be with Irina. I want to be with you. And I feel like I made the mistake from the moment I was in the pod. Whatever the story was, it is given second place. But I was honestly trying to think, like, the love of my life said to me,
"You're lost. I'm going to find someone who will put me first. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I just don't feel like I get past it. Maybe I'm still immature and I need to do some growing, and they're much more mature than I am. But I could not get past the idea that when it came down to it, you thought someone else was the love of your life, and then it turned out they're not the love of your life, and you want to come back to me and be like, you're the love of my life.
No, fam.
What did I like seeing you that you couldn't see in me?
Yeah, I think because the time difference is so close. You know, there's people that do reconnect after many, many years of not being together. They, you know, either I think of like Beyonce Knowles' mum, who Tina Knowles. She got married, of course, had Beyonce and Solange, and then divorced her husband Matthew Knowles, and then reconnected with, I think it was an old boyfriend, old flame from a very long time ago, who she's now married to.
Lovely.
Now that's many, many years later, not many days later. You're like, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. You were only just off your honeymoon a week ago, a couple of days ago. You just came off the plane.
No, which makes me think after they met for the first time, he knew this isn't happening, and perhaps the producer was like, just give it some time.
It'll build, it'll grow.
And the same thing to Irina, give it some time.
Yeah, but
otherwise you're not going to get the airtime that you want.
I think Irina once came for a holiday.
She came for the airtime.
She came for airtime and she came for a holiday.
She thought she was about to be her and Micah thought they were about to be the it girls from this series.
Please.
And it did not work out that way. So should we move on to I feel like we have to talk about Micah, Kwame, Paul and Chelsea
together.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring your Ghanaian brother to the stage?
From when you sat down and said, I was thinking of lying about my name and saying my name was Alex.
Instead of Kwame.
Pack your bags and leave that. How can you be telling me you was going to lie from me from day one? Lie to me from day one.
It was giving me SK when he said, you know, when you go on these, when you're trying to find love, but everyone tries to judge you because of your skin colour. I said, why have they reincarnated a new West African brother for us to roast this season?
What? Sorry. Can somebody who's American come on the pod? Because what is going on in America?
I don't know. What is wrong with the identity?
What is happening?
What is with the identity crisis that our West African people are facing?
What is happening? He tried to tell us a sob story. I knew from when he told, I couldn't even pick up my girlfriend from prom. I said, is she very religious? I was really trying to understand the story. I was like, you Ghanaian man went to pick up your Ghanaian girlfriend.
No, she's not Ghanaian.
Yeah. I said, okay, she's white. Okay, she's white. Now we have to go on this boring ass journey with you where you are pursuing any white woman, and then we're supposed to feel bad. When Micah gave it to him, when she said, kick rock, sis, I said, this is your comeuppance.
His response, we're talking about HR.
Yeah.
From Brett.
Thank you so much for your time. I've enjoyed the experience. It was given. You've been kicked off The Apprentice.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord Sugar.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the
thank you for the opportunity. Shut up. Then you went, as soon as you left, listen, my black, and I'm not changing this, I was thinking about this as I was watching it. For you to be a black person, I'm expanding it now, before I said a black woman, for you to be a black person crying about a white on TV. Whatever happens to you, happens to you.
It was giving me, basically...
Crying!
Right, no.
Shoshana, like his mum had died.
Kwame was giving me Jared from season 2 and SK from series 3. And Baptiste for the foolery in the honeymoons. This guy has encapsulated all the villains, because they are ridiculous, from previous seasons, and been like, you know what, this guy's perfect.
Do you know what the problem is as well? I'm so sorry. Chelsea was a sweet girl, right?
I think
Chelsea. She's a sweet girl.
Yeah.
I think the problem with someone like Kwame is any white girl that would have walked into these pods, he would have pursued.
Oh, 100%.
How can you feel special?
Yeah, fam.
How can you feel special and like your man wants you when anyone who's white would have gone on his list?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
It is.
I will never get past it. It's very mad behaviour. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't have a type, But the idea that your type is just a race of women, and any single one of them that could walk in here is getting it. You're giving her the business. You want to be with her. Chelsea and Micah couldn't be more different.
Oh, 100%. I was so confused. And when you see them together, and especially like on the honeymoons where all the couples reunite, you realise, how were you able to attract both of these girls? What is the common thread? Because Micah, immature, I think she's 27. She gives immature valley girl, she doesn't seem like she wants to get married. She wants to be on Too Hot to Handle. She doesn't want to be on Love is Blind. And there's the running jokes on TikTok about, you know, with Netflix dating shows, you can apply for Netflix reality, you can apply for a plethora of different shows. People just assume that she just, like Mike Irina, they just applied for all the shows they could get. They weren't able to get on them all. They definitely can't get on Perfect Match because you need to be on the show. And while she was there, they wanted to get on Too Hot to Handle, but they're like, nah, not today. And so the only other show that they were most applicable for were Love is Blind. And so that's why the energy that those two gave up, particularly Irina and Micah, was so different to everyone else. And their ambitions and purpose for being on the show felt different. They came here for a good time, whereas everyone else was coming for a long time. And I'd be like, it doesn't make sense. And that's why I was even more confused when Kwame was like, I'm connecting with you. Michael was telling him, oh, I'm actually going to choose you. And Kwame was like, well, I'm ready to lock it down now. I'm ready to propose. Next thing, Micah turns around and be like, no, Paul's going to be the person who's going to get engaged to you. Anymore. Yeah.
And he said, okay, bye.
Yeah. And then Chelsea has always been in the run-in. But like, after the Micah thing, like, they did take a bit of time to build the relationship. But I was like, the relationship is dead and gone.
But the even awkward thing is, like, Chelsea stand up, because you had to then listen to Micah coming back into the girls' quarters being like, I've been to him. I've been Kwame. He's crying. She didn't hear him crying, but she's like, I've been to him. It's very weird, but like, I've kicked him to the curb. And you got to go in the room and hear him being like, hey girl,
no,
you're the one I want to be with. Didn't you just get binned off by Micah? Yeah. So first of all, don't lie to me.
No.
Second of all, we've got to the resort now. I'm over the moon. Yeah. The door's open. I'm over the moon. Which honestly, Chelsea, whatever drug you're smoking, please send it my way, because the door's not open and I'm not seeing Kwame and being like,
no,
this is it. This is the love of my life.
He's got a skinny, muscular body. That's one thing I noticed.
My eyes didn't even get to the body, because I looked at his face and I said no.
I looked at the body when he was there trying to impress Micah, and I said, what is this nonsense?
Him? I was going to say, no, SK is a villain. Who's a mega villain? I'm not even gonna wish that upon myself.
Yeah.
Kwame is giving nothing, but do you know what is giving me more of the ick?
What?
The way that he was with Micah at that pool party.
Yeah, 150%.
You have to be. Obviously, sorry. You have to be such a particular person to go on this show, because I'm so sorry. From when you're holding hands with her, laughing and joking in the pool.
Oh my gosh.
Again,
the audacity.
As I've said on this podcast, if I was a Married at First Sight, you got to take me off the show. If I was on Love Island, you got to take me off the show.
Yeah.
If I was on Love is Blind and you did that, take me off the show, because otherwise, you're going to have to call the police.
Yeah, I was so confused.
I'm going to jail for assault.
Yeah, because what annoyed me the most, it was the two of them. Micah touching, messy. She was trying to touch him. The touching was giving me, you know when you're flirting with a guy, but you know you're flirting. But you're assuming he's single too. Like, you know, it's just a flirt.
It's not even this. No, but take this guy out. You know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what you're doing. Whereas this time, I was like, you know what you're doing, and you're both engaged, and your partner's not even 2 feet away. You're there touching his hand. You know, trying to. It was all caring that Kwame like holding hand. I said, you guys disrespectful. And when you watch this back,
it's embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. When she made the joke about, let's take a shot to your failed proposal, then he got upset. Then he's like, let me take you aside because what you said wasn't cool. Your partner's sitting there eating guac. This is just like when Bartiz was talking to, who was it? Raven.
Oh, me and you could have got together because, you know, you're hot, I'm hot. I said, shut up.
And his wife was sitting there eating. Every single time the camera cut back to her, you're making these girls look goofy as fuck. You're making me look goofy and stupid. No. How could I be sitting there, you're having a long conversation about, and she's telling you, I cared about you. all of that stuff was real, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I also still have, I'm always going to have a place in my heart for you.
No. For
Place in
real?
your heart where?
Where?
A place in your heart where?
I was done.
Spoke to her for 2 weeks in the pod. Me and you about to get married. You're talking about, you got a place. You didn't speak to her for 2 weeks because she binged you after a week. So what are you talking about?
I forgot.
What are you talking
I
about?
know.
Oh, she's got a special place in my heart. I couldn't, as a white woman, which I am,
Not.
which I'm not, I could not be with a man whose eyes would be wandering for every white woman.
Yeah, that
Let me out.
is crazy. And I think the other
You
thing
have to really believe in your source
Yeah.
because I couldn't do it.
No, and there was the other thing that really annoyed me, and that's when I realised Kwame is as messy as as all of them. Is when Irina was like, "Oh, Kwame, can't get us a drink," and he was like, "Really? I'm gonna get you a drink. I was like, maybe go and get it yourself." I'm like,
He's loving it.
Is he loving it? He's like,
he
all
thought
the-
he was
all
the
the-
most popular boy on
yeah,
campus.
all the ladies love. I'm LL Cool J. I'm
He's
LL
not even the hottest boy
Kwame.
here. Brett is the hottest guy
He
here.
is. He is.
First of all, I didn't even want to say it. Well, I can't believe we've got this far into it before I said it. This season, the bar is continuously lowering and lowering.
I know.
There was one hot guy. This season.
I was gonna say Paul. No.
No, Paul's head was too square.
When
I was looking at. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh. Then I was like, nah.
No, because I was thinking, oh yeah, Paul was okay.
It's given
but Brett is actually the best looking
Frankenstein's
guy.
monster. I was like, there's something off about this. Every single guy, there was something off.
He was.
Even
And-
Marshall's given somewhere between Anthony Mackie and Will Smith, but
Yes,
you're not hitting either one.
yes, that's it. Anthony Mackie, 100%. Like a lighty.
Yeah, and you're not. It's not.
Mackie.
And it's still not given.
Yeah.
It's still not given.
No.
I'm thinking about Anthony Mackie. I'm not thinking. I don't.
No.
Marshall's eyes were so like light and piercing as well. I was like, oh, I don't
Oh,
know.
I kind of liked that. I was like, I remember seeing this, like, oh, wow, his eyes are really beautiful. And I didn't
Jacqueline
realise.
said the same thing.
We say?
Jacqueline said the same
They
thing.
were beautiful.
And then was flirting that guy with a guy at a party. So what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, Jacqueline.
Beautiful eyes is not enough.
I can't, yeah, you can't. Because you need to boss up.
You
Man
need to
up.
boss up.
But for me, after that pool party, the first of all the couples met. Then Chelsea and him had a serious conversation.
But then, do you remember Jacqueline saying at that pool party, like, it would be funny though, if Michael wanted your man, she could take him.
Oh,
She's like, why is Chelsea getting upset? Like, Chelsea left the party, why is she upset? Like, as if Michael wanted him, she could put up a fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, why are you being bitchy to fucking Chelsea for? What's she done to you?
She said this. Well, I think that there's been issues with the Micah. Oh, actually, I think there was some real
Micah
bad
and Chelsea
vibes.
fine, but why is
with
Jacqueline weighing in?
Yeah, I was confused because also Jacqueline was like, "Oh, Zack, he's weird. I don't like him," and all the guys were proper defending him, which surprised me. So maybe Zack is not as bad as we thought. He's stupid.
I feel
he's
like
stupid,
he got a bad rap about for sure was that everyone was like, he looks weird and he's a weirdo,
Yeah,
which we need to examine the way that we deal with stuff like that because there's absolutely no need for it.
I was like, oh, I don't think he's a great, because I think he's a defendant. It's like, oh, he would not be a great defendant.
Yeah, if he was, no, he's not. He's a lawyer. If he was defending me, I'd probably straight to jail. And everyone was laughing.
Come on, I'm like,
it's like, yeah, he's kind of eccentric, but
that's not a bad thing. I mean, the mistake he made was going with Irina, and he really showed his character there. But just because he looks a bit.
I mean, the staring is weird, but like, there are a lot of people who are like who are neurodivergent who have that. Like, I feel like it is crazy to just be like, you're a weirdo.
Do you know why I think he was weird? Because it was from the pod days. Because when he was meeting the girls, he was telling him that he was a stripper. And
that was weird.
That was like, so I think that's probably weird because that's your first impression. Like, hi, my name is Zack. I'm a stripper. I'm like, huh? Oh wait, sorry, no, I'm a lawyer. I'm like, what is going on?
I think the weird thing about that is
probably started it.
It's supposed to be a joke that you're a stripper, but then your mum actually was a stripper. So how do you
it didn't land.
I don't know what, because if people go LOL, then they're laughing at your mum who was a stripper, and if they go, no, you're not.
That's in the conversation.
Then they're saying that you're too good to be a stripper. Like, either way, the joke is at the expense of strippers, and your mum was a stripper.
Yeah, it wasn't working, and I think that's, you know, when they all say like the first impression lasts, like that it did. But I think it was bad that they continued that narrative all the way through after they met him.
I also read that as an attempt at humour from a person who isn't funny.
Yeah.
So
I can't relate.
Zack hit Shoshanna up. Like, the two we could probably swap.
No,
really bad
I'm
jokes.
good, thank you.
But yeah, I didn't read it as this man is evil and he's going to kill us or steal our baby. It's like...
No.
I just read it as like he's a little bit socially awkward. Weirdly, I thought that Paul was quite, in the pods, quite charismatic. And then in real life, so boring.
Yeah, I agree.
I was like, I don't even know how Micah is still thinking of marrying this guy. He's so dry.
But yeah, I don't
He just gives you nothing.
No.
Paul... So, going back to the Chelsea...
Yeah.
Chelsea basically is like, what the fuck? And Kwame's like, well, you know, we nearly got engaged. I had to speak to her, blah, blah, blah.
I needed my closure.
Okay. The next day they're good.
Yeah, because they had a conversation, had a chat, but then I think they had she kind of had a very stern conversation with Kwame and said,
drop it.
Yeah, you can't keep on talking to her. You are getting married to me.
Yeah.
But the way she was, I don't, maybe she wasn't calm, but I was like, the fact that you're having this conversation so close to getting married, and I know this process is expedited, but it still makes me think, this is not the guy. Why are you trying to curb your guy from the woman he really loves? You are being the wife. No, you're being the girlfriend for the wife.
Blocking.
Yeah, exactly.
First of all.
And also, I don't see Micah and Kwame working at all.
If Micah had been coupled up with him, she would have been talking to Paul the way she was talking to him.
150%.
There's nobody that girl would have been coupled up with that she would have been happy with.
Yeah.
Which was crazy to me because you're also not that hot.
Oh my God.
Like, she clearly feels like she's the hottest girl that ever existed.
Yeah.
So you don't have massive tits. You don't have a massive bum. The faces are sick.
Oh, wait. There was a scene when they were in Mexico and they're jumping into a cenote.
Yeah.
And the production she was shady because they did a lot of a slow-mo as she was jumping in and everything was jiggling. And I was like, who does this?
It's messy.
And it was like from different angles as well. They jumped in on one angle, then the other angle, then the next angle.
I would like to retract that. I hate talking about...
Yeah, let's talk about
women's bodies look. It's not fair. Yeah. It's not got anything to do with anything. That being said, Paul's ugly. Talking about the way men look is fine. They deserve it. But
do we move on to Paul?
But yeah, but I felt like the thing with Micah is whoever she would have been coupled up with, she would have been doing what she was. Yeah, flirting with the other person.
She's not satisfied.
Trying to keep the door open.
Yeah.
It felt like as well. It's like it's very manipulative, this conversation you're having with Kwame, because he likes you still. And you're kind of being like, well, whatever happens, I'm always going to be close to you. And like, if this doesn't work out, so you're implying that there is a future for the two of you, which is really, really weird and dangerous. Again, he liked him so much, you should have married him.
Yeah, they came for a fun time, not a long time. Everyone else, like, you compare really the energies of Tiffany, Chelsea with Micah and Irina. Like, it's different. The Tiffany and Chelsea are looking for marriage. They're seeing Love is Blind as an opportunity to get married. Plus, the other exposure that comes from it. Whereas Micah and Irina are looking at like having a fun time, like being on TV and getting the airtime and going on holiday. This is just different purposes and different agendas, and that's how you can see it transcribed on the show.
So with Paul and Micah, and I guess, and there are a little bit more to talk about Micah and Irina as the mean girls, or as someone on the internet has called them as the two sisters in Cinderella. I honestly, I didn't buy any chemistry between these two people.
100%.
I felt like, and this is how I felt about the sort of Marshall, Josh, Jacqueline situation, and the Micah, Paul, Kwame situation. This is a competition, and I want to win the competition, as opposed to I want to couple up with this person because this is who I want to be with.
Yeah.
It was I don't want to be the person who doesn't make it to the honeymoons. So I want to win the game. Yeah. And Josh thought he was going to win the game, and he didn't. It went to Marshall. And with Micah and Kwame, I think she liked that she had two men in contention. I think she liked that the two men were both professing their love for her. And in the end, she went with Paul. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I genuinely don't know why, but I feel like with both Kwame and Paul, the chemistry, it wasn't there.
No, even when he was like, so Micah and Paul have a conversation where they agree that they're gonna stay exclusive for each other, and he's gonna propose to her, and so they agree to dump their other connection. So of course Micah dumps Kwame, and then Paul dumps Amber, I think her name was, and I was still like, I don't see this. Looks like an arrangement versus you are the person that I care about the most. But I also had a similar feeling when back to series 1 with Amber, Barnett, and Jess, because we saw so much of the Jess connection with Barnett and not much with Amber, because Amber was giving me jokey vibes. And so when he was like, oh no, I'm dumping Jess and I'm going to propose to you, Amber, I was like, how? Like, what is this connection? I mean, they're laughing at us because they're still married to this day, but it's just, maybe we're just not shown enough of where the connection was, but I wasn't buying the point.
Yeah, I think it's like we were sold the version of the story that would be the most entertaining, which is that we're with Jess and Barnett, and then here's this curveball. Yeah. But if we'd seen it from Amber's perspective, it's not a curveball. He chose the girl that he is going to go on to then marry. But I also saw it in the Irina Bliss Zack of it all. Yeah. I don't think Irina liked Zack. I think in the pods, seeing the way that Bliss was like, I'm set on this guy, making him cut his on his birthday, and I don't want to share the candles with you. I feel like you're a menace. Irina was like, I'm going to win this because I have to win, which is why she went back into the pod straight afterwards and was like, hey, sorry, I forgot your birthday. Bliss is out here acting wild, and it's making me uncomfortable. And because she was the first person to bring it to his attention, that's why it really solidified her place in that drama. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's always going to be me versus Bliss. Yeah. And I came forward first, so it makes it seem like Bliss is after me as opposed to me being after Bliss. And so I feel like both Mike and Irina had it in their heads when making it to the honeymoon. Yeah. In whatever means necessary. She couples up with Paul. Paul, honestly, it was giving me major ick from the beginning. Yeah. Like, every girl he spoke to, he's like, when we get married, which is really, really problematic language, because take someone like Amber, who thought the two of them were about to set sail, for him to then turn around and be like, yeah, no, I'm not even going to talk to you anymore because I'm going to be with Micah, would be very, very, such a rug pull, because you've been talking about how we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, we're going to name them, you know, Paul and Amber. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Or whatever.
The other thing about Paul that was striking, and it came up twice that I remember, was that I think his background is science. Like, he has a science background.
Conservation scientist or something like that.
And so when he came on the show, he was like, I'm really seeing this as an experiment to see if this actually works. I said, fam, you have 3 other seasons beforehand. And I think potentially series 3 and 4 were shot at the same time. Or they have, for them to be able to pump these shows out quite quickly, they're probably shooting these in quite quick succession, / to the point where you don't know the outcome of one season before it comes out. But you've definitely seen season 1 and you've seen season 2 by this point, I'm hoping. So I'm assuming you know that this can potentially work, you know, and be in season 2. So why are you out here going, I'm just doing this as an experiment to see if this works, you know, I'm not too sure, let's just see, you know. And then when he then met Micah, he was like, I kind of like girls who are a bit more earthy and a bit more, you hippie, and you know, that's the kind of thing that my brain goes towards. And they was talking, again, he's not talking in sciencey, but he's going back to that kind of like cerebral type of approach to this show.
Hyperlogical. Yeah. I usually spend a lot of time making decisions, and I go after a very particular kind of girl, and so I've basically decided this time I'm coupled up with a girl who's not my type in any way. Yeah. But I am madly in love with her. Okay.
So to me, I was just like, again, people are coming onto the show for the wrong reasons.
He also was the only person who was quite sexual in the pods. Yeah. And I found that quite uncomfortable as well, because I was just like, I know earlier we just talked about like it's very weird to have agreed to marry someone and have not had any conversations about sex whatsoever. But what I didn't find his conversations to be about sex, as in what do you like, you know, is it similar to what I like? It felt like, oh, I'm propositioning you. Yeah. And isn't that hot? It's like, we're not at a bar, we're not in the club, like this is to see if we're going to be life partners. So I don't really want my partner propositioning me on date 2 so much as I want to learn about who they are and what they like to know whether or not this is something I want to be with. And I feel like you're being kind of sleazy.
Yeah. And it's ironic because, you know, you see him in real life and you're like,
complete lack of charisma.
Yeah, lack of charisma. It's like you can't back what you were saying.
Yeah, what's it? It's not really given.
No, not at all. So then he meets Micah. It's so. I can't really tell, but the families, like, they meet some of the family and they all seem to like him.
Does he meet her friends?
He meets her friend.
That was really weird and awkward, and I didn't like that. I honestly, watching that, I was like, it absolutely makes sense that this is Micah's friend because she's awful, so of course her friends are awful. But her friend wants to fuck her. Sorry.
When
she's crying.
Do you know what?
They were also very drunk.
Yeah, that was another thing, because going back to Nick, when Nick was wasted...
It's Josh, you know.
When we go back to Josh...
Yeah, it's Josh.
Oh, if we said Nick, we meant Josh.
His name was Josh.
His name was Josh. When Josh was wasted, you can tell. When this girl, she was slurring. She was like, he's not right.
Also, I had to watch their interaction like 14 times because I didn't understand what had happened.
No.
But basically, she was saying something about how... She made a comment about him, and he said something like, oh, it's the roast of Paul, I guess. And then she said, don't joke about that, because I'll say something that hurts your feelings for real. And then he didn't say anything. And then Micah's like, aren't you going to say anything? It's like, I really don't care what she says. And she's like, you should care what she says. And she's like, well, obviously I care, but I don't care as in I'm not going to let it hurt me or affect me. Then Micah seems pissed off at him. It's like, sorry, what are you implying? I should let your friend chat shit to me and be like,
no,
bizarre.
You want me as your partner to go back to your friend and be doing back and forth with them in front of you.
She wanted him to be upset. I read it as like, she was like, it should bother you what she thinks of you.
And I'm like, no, because you're bothered by what she thinks of you, but it means no difference.
Your friend's being hella disrespectful. I didn't walk in and be like, you're ugly, you're stupid.
Yeah.
I didn't say him.
Fam.
She's the one saying, well, I'll decide if you're good enough for my friend. It's giving you want to fuck your friend. I'm so sorry. I love my friends, but I would not come with that kind of energy. If you told me this is your man and this person you want to be with, I'm not going to be rude to him.
No. You would talk to me on the side.
Yeah, I'm not
in front of him.
Why am I going to be disrespectful to him?
Yeah.
You're here by yourself in a room full of people who all know each other. My going out of my way to make you feel bad is cunty on my behalf because you have no one to back you. Yeah. And your partner who should back you is going to be too busy backing me because I'm her best friend. Yeah.
How many times have we been in this... Oh, it's not been many times, but we've been in spaces with potential partners and we know they ain't it. But we're still kind. Still
exactly.
I'm
not going to disrespect you, and I'm not going to go out of my way to make you feel like isolated. If I want to tell my friend how I feel, I'll find time. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But it's not in front of, and it's not classy. Mm-mm. It's unpleasant, and I would not want to be friends with someone who would do that. So when that girl was behaving like that, I was like, one, she's drunk, but two, Micah, you choose. The company you keep says a lot about you. Yeah. And the fact that in that moment you didn't tell your friend, hey, relax.
Yeah, calm down, get some water.
Instead, you've turned to him and be like, what are you going to do about the situation?
I think that Michael is using that as an excuse. Because I think that, we're going to go through predictions very soon.
She's forcing it.
She's forcing it, and I think she's trying to find excuses as to, this guy ain't it. He's not the right guy. Let's start peeling the layers. Let's start building the story. So when I get onto the altar, I can tell you, well, these are the reasons why I don't like you. And this is the reason why I can't marry you. And do what's that girl that did the Zainab. Do a Zainab from series 3, where she kind of tells you, you've been like this. I've always had these red flags.
That's what I think this is going to do. That's what I think this is going to do.
I think, I don't know. I would hope
but this is all an elaborate plan to reject him on the altar and be like,
I'm sorry, you tried this with me. Pay back. You think I want to marry you after you made me second?
I'm not a good person.
I really hope that's the case. Anyway, I don't have anything more. There's so much. Oh yeah, sorry. The big thing, which we kind of talked about briefly, was this season was very much an in-depth look into the communal dynamics. So we saw a lot of relationships that were happening with the guys in their communal areas, the women. And there's a lot of emotion flying in those communal areas, particularly with the women and, the ones that were connecting with certain men. But then, there were things that they were starting to break up with the men as time went on. And the tears, like Amber when she broke up with Paul and she was crying hard. But the one thing that really stood out was Micah and Irina's dynamic, and they came across initially was like they're really close friends, really tight. They're actually similar in age, and they're the closest in age than everyone else because they were under 30, and everyone else I think was over, apart from maybe Jacqueline, maybe. So they were a bit younger, and it came across so much so because they acted like mean girls.
It was given high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is very weird behaviour. Because like you said, they've had younger people on the show before. Yeah. But we've never had a dynamic like this where it's like the terrible twosome. Yeah. Basically going around laughing at other people being upset.
When she's hiding behind the wall while...
listening to what Amber's saying so she can... Because Michael wants to know basically how cruel was Paul when he cut things off with her. Like, it was all just... It was giving very much this is a competition. Yeah. We're seeing this as a competition. And the other girls are competition. And we want to wipe them out. Yeah. And not actually a focus on who you're pairing up with. Yeah. The two of them just said, let's make it to Mexico.
Yeah, let's have a holiday.
Let's make it to Mexico at whatever means necessary.
And then what I found interesting with their dynamic, of course they get to Mexico, still acting like children, in the pool, hanging out, making jokes. While Micah is there flirting with Kwame, Irina is there flirting with Micah's fiance, with Paul, chatting left, right and centre, trying to throw her shot, not explicitly, but trying to build conversation, saying, oh, you know, you're definitely more my type than Zack. So after Irina and Zack break up, that is when Paul says, either Paul, someone flags that, oh, you know that Irina was flirting with Paul. And there's been a few occasions where Irina was telling Micah that she found Paul attractive, which to me was wild. It was wild.
I feel like she was saying that because they had already had a conversation about how they're not taking this seriously. Yeah. For me to tell you, like, oh, the dude you're coming up with is hot, you have to have told me you don't care about him. Because I would not tell if you said this is the love of my life, I'm not coming up to you to tell you that he's hot.
I can't.
They must have had a conversation where it's like, I don't give a heck about who I'm coupled up with.
And I don't either. Yeah. And so then later on, when they break up, Irina and Zack, that's when the whole thing comes to life. Like, oh, well, you know, Irina was actually flirting with Paul. And then Michael was like, oh, then I need to have a conversation with her. I'm like, please don't put on a show that you're...
that was bizarre well. Like, she was like, I need to sit you down and tell you. And Irina was like, yeah, you're right. Which is very weird because you was really trying to flirt with him.
Yeah. I told you
don't do that, and you're like, okay, cool.
No, they're not serious.
I think it's interesting that we don't see Irina again because if the show really wanted to be messy, they should have brought her for all the reunions.
Oh, 100%.
Why did they not let her come back?
When Josh was there. Bring her so that she could see the couple that she's made with
with Zack and Bliss. Zack and Bliss. But also, she could still be messy with Paul. Yeah. Why not?
It's true. Because Kwame is still going to gravitate himself back to Micah.
Everybody's in love with everybody. Let's be messy. Yeah,
but actually it's ironic because Paul doesn't really seem to see much of the Micah and Kwame thing.
No.
Which is this is the exact same thing that happened with Sal and Jared and what's the name of the girl?
I can't remember her name.
But then Sal was completely out of the blue. He did not know what was going on.
But I also feel like a part of that is your partner telling you there's nothing to be worried about.
And trusting them.
Yeah, and trusting them.
And then you watch the show and you're like, oh, okay.
But I don't know for Paul.
No.
I feel like, he has his head in the clouds a little bit, but I also wonder if maybe he's quite arrogant and thinks, well, no one could possibly compete with
Kwame,
me.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a little bit of that in it as well. Because if it was me, I would not be fussed because I'm like, you had opportunity to choose him and you still chose me. So really, when it comes down to it, you choose me.
Yeah, but why do you keep on gravitating towards him?
I feel like probably to wind me up.
Yeah.
If I was him. Yeah. But I don't think he, like you said, I don't even think he was even seeing. No. He wasn't fast.
And that's the thing. It's interesting. I need to maybe rewatch like who was gravitating to who. Because like again, going back to series 1, when Jess, Amber, and Barnett. That thing was happening. Jess was always going to Barnett. Barnett never went to Jess.
Yeah.
And so Amber was always secure. I mean, she was ready to fight. I remember when at the bridal shower.
It was actually very iconic.
It was wild, yeah.
If you ever touch my man, I'll kill you. And then kisses her on the mouth.
Oh, she was ready. But again,
like a villain in a film.
Yeah, but Barnett was always confident in his choice, and he never went to her. Whereas Kwame is the one who's like sniffing himself around to Micah.
But that's because I feel like for Barnett, Jess's behaviour was making him even more secure in the decision that he's made. With Kwame, he's loving that Micah keeps coming up to him.
I think they come up to each other.
Yeah, he's loving that there is like a part of him is really enjoying that there is an opportunity there in the back of his mind to be with Micah.
I don't know.
There's a fantasy that is playing out in his head that doesn't have to be questioned because Micah is giving him the wink every now and then. And he can just say...
Their eyes keep on connecting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Should we make our predictions?
Let's do it. Okay. Brett and Tiffany.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're going to be... I think they're together and they're happy. And I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul and Micah.
No. I think that Paul will say yes, but Micah will say no.
With Paul and Micah... Yeah, I feel like Micah has already aired things that she has a problem with, like her house in Arizona and stuff like that, and working from home. And that she's got double the size of his closet. I mean, his flat was really sad though. She was right about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see Micah saying no and Paul saying yeah, but I just feel like I can't get a read on him.
No.
I can't get rid of him at all, so I can imagine, like, I don't know if he'll say yes or no. I don't know. All he says is that, well, I know I'm in love with her. I know I'm in love with her, but what are you in love with?
I don't think they're together. Let's just say that.
No.
Now, Kwame and Chelsea.
I don't trust Kwame.
I'm hoping that Chelsea says no, but I don't think she will.
No, she's saying yes 100%. She's ready to be a wife.
Yeah.
So she says no. It's Kwame I don't trust.
Yeah. I think they end up getting married. They both say yes, but by the reunion they're not together. Oof.
If she sees that Micah stuff, I think it'll be pretty hard to stay with someone. Especially when you be so early in your marriage as well. To try and be like, I don't care.
Yeah, because again, Jared and Indiana, like, that is your biggest example. She was second place. They divorced.
It's
less
difficult.
than a year
it's really
later.
difficult. It's really difficult.
Zack and Bliss.
Yes. Yes.
I think yes, they're together.
I feel like because of how unconventional it is and that we're still seeing them on the show, I think they make it to the end.
I agree, actually. I think they will. I think it's going to be very tough, and I think they'll probably go into this in detail in their reunion. That maybe they broke up at one point, but they're still very much together.
Wow, you're being so in depth with what you think like that.
No, because this series, again, has really lost the love and it's all drama, I'm really having to really dig deep to find out what the story could be. But,
Marshall and Jackie.
No.
I do not see Jackie saying yes, and Marshall should not say yes. He needs help.
I think they'll both say no and agree on it.
Wicked.
But I don't know who will say no. Maybe Jacqueline will say no first, and then Marshall was like, "Oh, I was gonna say no too."
No, Marshall. I know this sounds really harsh, and maybe I need to. I'm just unfair to men, but I can imagine him being like Shaq on Love Island, being like, "I said yes. I said I didn't. You maltreated me, so I'm the good guy. I'm the nice guy. Nice guys always finish last." That is the energy that he gives me. The internet loves him at the moment, but he's really.
I think he may turn at one point, because that's what happened with SK. Everyone loved SK because they felt sorry for him, and then he showed his Euroboy ways.
Euroboy boy.
Yoruba boy ways.
Yeah, he said Euroboy.
Euroboy. My good. Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see, because I'm keen to see what happens with the finale and the reunion.
Yeah.
What we do next week?
So next week we will be watching Swarm.
But yeah, I saw the trailer for it. I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah.
This has been Scripts and Giggles. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.